You have a lot of experience. So you've seen a lot of business cycles. My God, could you have imagined even 6 months ago we'd be here today? I think we were all being and hoping to be optimistic, but these markets have really rallied pretty aggressively, and the economies around the world seem to be in recovery mode. I'd love your insight backwards. How did it work out so far, and what do you think going forward?
Well, Dominic, I own things. I have not sold short anywhere yet. I see that this is turning into froth. I can see that bubbles are beginning to form in some assets, but I don't see enough to sell short yet. But again, I'll probably get my timing wrong when I do begin to sell or sell short. You see the classic signs of bubbles. Bonds are certainly in a bubble. I mean, you guys are Lebenthal. Bonds have never been this high in the history of the world, all over the world. So that's clearly a bubble. If you go to property, oh my gosh, in Korea or New Zealand or many places in the world, property is certainly in a bubble. You look at the stock market, you can see that things like Amazon and Tencent and Samsung, they never go down. They go up every day. I mean, bubbles are forming, but there are many shares in many markets around the world that haven't participated yet, which is why I haven't started selling short yet. The only thing that I know that's cheap still are commodities. I mean, I think I probably said that then too. Silver is down 50% from its all-time high. Sugar's down 70% from its all-time high. The only things that I know that aren't an all-out bubble are commodities. I've been buying more commodities in the past few days, weeks, but I am like everybody else. I see, oh my gosh, look what's happening. You see all the classic signs. New people coming into the market, and they're all telling their friends, oh my gosh, this is so much fun and so easy. It's so easy to make money. Oh my gosh, you see SPACs coming back. SPACs often come back at the end of a bull market. All the signs are there, but I'm not selling it short yet.
When we had you on in January, you were pretty optimistic about the new administration coming in. From the point of view, you were hopeful we were going to have a more normalized relationship with our international partner. There's some tension now with China. Things seem to be calming down in Europe. You have a view on how you feel the Biden administration has done in the first 6 months as it relates to our international friends?
Well, you just said most of it. At least we're not smashing the Europeans in the face at the moment. I mean, maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't, but the facts are we're not, which makes them less unhappy. The Chinese situation doesn't seem to have gotten better. It certainly doesn't seem to have gotten worse, which is a good sign. Some of the other Asians, likewise. I mean, we're not smashing the Japanese and the Koreans anymore, at the moment anyway. Mexico, Canada, at least Biden doesn't smash them when he talks about them yet. So things do seem to have calmed down, but the world needs a more actually aggressive making up, hand-holding, acting together, working together than we're having, because I look back in history and I say, my gosh, where is this going to go? Because when politicians keep hitting each other, then they hit back and they hit back. And sometimes this has led to shooting wars. As recently as 1910, the English and the German royal families intermarried, vacationed together. They were great pals and friends. 4 years later, they were in the trenches slaughtering each other. And nobody knew why. In fact, about 1915, everybody said, wait, how'd this happen? How did we get out of this? But they couldn't get out of it. And so it was a total disaster. And that's what I worry. I see all this animosity building up for no reason that I can see. And where is it going to end?
Before we continue, help us by smashing that YouTube like button and subscribe now to this channel. This shows the algorithm that you value the information, and it helps us spread this message. Sharing is caring. Please like and subscribe now. Thank you. And now, let's continue.
Jim, I want to ask this question because you touched on a couple themes I think that come together, and I think that the buoyancy of the markets and all of the markets, bond stocks, comes from this global liquidity and this incredible kind of don't fight the Fed, don't fight the global Fed, is what I'm hearing and feeling. But sometimes the liquidity is going to dry up. And so I'm curious, from the guy who looks around corners, is there anything that you would look out for, and that this great liquidity driven market suddenly, what tells or what signs would we see that maybe this liquidity is going to dry up pretty soon?
Usually, historically, things start with someplace where we're not watching. In 2007, Iceland went bankrupt. Almost nobody knew or cared or even knew Iceland could go bankrupt. But then,
Right.
15 months later, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. And then people knew, oh, there's a problem here. There's something going wrong. I am looking for exactly the same thing you said. I'm watching the liquidity. The Chinese, who have done a less bad job than many other countries, have recently started raising rates and raising the reserve requirements. Not a lot, but a little bit. But it's the second largest economy in the world. And so if they're starting, somebody is noticing the problems that are developing. So I'm trying to watch where and how the liquidity might start drying up. Interest rates in the U.S. did go up for a while. They're back down now, at least down a bit. But that may be another early sign that things are starting to change. You see the central bankers in the U.S. talking about now eventually slowing down. Not now, but eventually. Well, at least somebody's noticing. At least something is beginning to, signs are starting. But I don't see enough yet to make me sell. Now, but I want to remind you, Jordan, I'm a horrible market timer. Don't rely on me. You look at Leventhal. Don't look at me. But the early signs are starting, perhaps. But what I expect to happen is that, let's say it progresses and markets start going down a week from now, a month from now, a quarter from now, whenever, next year. The central banks, most central banks, are going to panic and then say, oh, we have to do something. And they're going to pump it up again or try to save everything. And it will probably at least work for a while. But there's going to come a time, Jordan, when the markets are going to say, we don't care. We've seen your tricks. We know. Right. We've been to this movie. We know how it ends. And when that happens, Jordan, then it's over. Then we're going to have a horrible bear market.
Well, Jim, one of the things we believe in is not what you make necessarily in the bull market, what you keep through cycles. And as you said, Leventhal is pretty conservative. And so I think one of the big banks, Wells Fargo, I think cut or eliminated everybody's line of credit this week. I just noticed that. It was kind of an interesting. Wells Fargo, the headline on Friday.
They
just said we're just taking everyone's line of credit and eliminating it out of
Yeah, they shut them down.
Okay, these are small steps. I mentioned the Chinese and other people. Who knows? A couple of Indian banks are having the problems right now. All of these things build up eventually. But you're exactly right. You're watching the right things. And when they ring the bell, Dom, when they ring the bell, please send me an email. Ring the bell very loudly.
Here we go.
But
Guys.
Jimmy, coming back to one of the themes you've already talked a little bit about, we have our own central bankers here, our own Fed, talk about how they're gonna put aside their inflation expectations for a little while and allow us to overshoot on the inflation front. And then just, I think last week, the ECB, the European Central Bank, said basically the same thing. They're going to look past this 2% number. I don't know about how I feel about it, Jim. I really would love to hear your thoughts on the subject, because they're going to let it overshoot. How much and for how long is the $1 million question? And will they ever be able to get their hands around it? And what does the bond market do in response?
Well, everything you just said is part of the reason that I haven't started selling yet. These guys, they may be incompetent, they may be fools, but they've got the money. And so we have to listen to them. And if they're going to make it worse, and I emphasize worse, because the more it goes, the higher and out of control things get. The guy at the Bank of Japan every day prints as much, he says, unlimited amounts of money, and buys shares and ETFs. Well, I mean, that's horrible for Japan. It's horrible for the world. It's good for all of us at the moment, but when it ends, it's not going to be fun.